You know they faked it. I'll tell you why. You know, and I'm not into conspiracy. You know they faked it. I'll tell you why. Because their new standard answer, if you ask them, well, how come we haven't gone back to the moon? They're like, well, we forgot how to do it. What do you mean you forgot how to do it? Well, all the plans and all the blueprints we had for all the stuff we built, they disappeared, along with all the video footage of us on the moon too. So we can't do it. We forgot how to do it. It's like they're acting like 20,000 years passed, and they're like, oh, that's ancient technology. We don't know how to do it anymore.
Well, I thought the same thing when they were talking about this new trip going back, the unmanned, then they're going to take people. Yeah. They said it's going to take this long because we need to test the space suits to make sure they're right for the radiation. And I thought the same thing. I'm thinking, didn't you already have this information because you sent people up before? Why?
No, Lee, they lost it. We lost this. We lost all the files. They're gone. We don't know. Even though there were no computers, that it was actually in a box. We lost them. We don't know where they are. I created Species Nutrition with one mission in mind: to provide bodybuilders and serious athletes with no-nonsense supplements that work. I put my name and reputation on every bottle of Species Nutrition products. If you want to be your absolute best, join the evolution.
You're funny.
Like I said, do you like my tail?
Like I said.
Welcome back to another exciting episode of Iron Rage. I'm Dave Palumbo, joined as always by Lee Priest. Yeah. And John Romano is going to join us today too, but he's got something more important to do than
I was just having a little nana nap while you're running the ads.
What were you doing?
Having a nana nap.
You were doing a Lee Haney nap, as I call it.
It's cold, so I got the heater on behind me and it's just getting warm now, so it's like,
I have gotten to a point in my life, Lee, where I get so tired sometimes that I take a paper towel so that I don't, because my head gets greasy, because I'm a greasy Italian. I take a paper towel, I lay it on top of my hands, and I put my head down, and I sleep like this. And I'm so tired that I pass out in 30 seconds, and I'll sleep like for 15, 20 minutes like that. And I get up, and I'm like, I got tons of energy again.
Never when you feel the tiredness coming on, your eyes start stinging, and you're like,
I just can't keep my eyes open. Have you ever tried to answer an email and you're so tired you don't even know what you're writing?
You put the wrong words, or you write something and you read it back. You're like, that makes no fucking sense.
I can't even read it back. I'm like, I can't. I said, I'm just going to send this one email, and I physically can't finish the email because I'm so tired. And that's how we go.
Sometimes I'll use that voice to text, and if you're tired, maybe you slur words or you don't say it properly, then you read it back. You're like, what the fuck did that pick up?
Yeah. I never voice texted because I didn't believe that it would actually pick up my what I'm saying properly. So I've been in the car, you don't want to text in the car because you get into a car accident. So I said, I'm going to try to voice text and see how it works. And I was surprised that it was pretty accurate. Yeah, it's pretty accurate. I don't know how it picks up the Australian accent, but
it's pretty good.
It was pretty good with mine. It only missed up. I think it messed up one or two words. That was it.
Well, sometimes my phone will be connected to the Bluetooth in the car, but then sometimes it will disconnect. So I have to I'll do the voice record while I'm driving along, but then I think it gets road noise, or if I got the radio going, I'll be talking and I forget to turn the radio down, and it's putting words up that whoever's saying.
Oh yeah, you don't want the radio going, or your car sounds loud, so you got a loud, the sports car. Speaking of sports cars, didn't you tell me the new Aston Martin came out or something like that? Some crazy new sports.
The Valkyrie, yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull this up. I looked it up because I always liked Aston Martins, and when you told me the price tag on this thing, I was like flabbergasted. But it doesn't really look like an Aston Martin. It looks like some kind of a crazy supercar. Why do you think they deviated from the Aston look normally?
I mean, they're just getting into that hypercar thing look type thing. Look at that! Whoa.
Now, let me ask you a question. Let's say you won some lottery ticket or something like that, and you had the money, and I know you would spend it on the car because cars are important to you. And like, where do you take something like that to get fixed? Like, if something breaks on it. It's not like there's like a dealer down the block from you or anything like that.
Yeah, you mean you're not going to pull in the Jiffy Lube with your Aston?
Yeah. You know what? My engine's smoking, and people wouldn't even know what to do with it.
Anything where your cars are over $1 million or $2 million, you just know getting it fixed is going to be a headache. Shit.
Crazy.
They got the new DB12 just come out. It looks nice. Have you seen that?
No, that's the one you have, the new one.
No, I haven't got the DB12. Have a look at that one. It's nice.
This car goes 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds, and it's actually electronically limited to 220 miles an hour, meaning it could go faster than that, but they actually have it limited. Like who the hell is going to go faster than 220 miles an hour with the car? You know,
on the Autobahn.
Lee, no one's driving this car on a residential or any kind of highway at 220 miles an hour because you die really quickly. You know.
If you put wings out, the thing would probably take off.
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
And it's the price tag of this thing. Go? What's the plane speed before it lifts off?
I don't even know. Probably not that fast. This thing is $3.5 million. Maybe Aaron will buy one of these, and I can drive it. Maybe he'll let me drive it. Aaron would spend the money on this. I guarantee it. The Aston Martin will sell it in the U.S. Only under the NHTSA's show and display exemption, which limits mileage to 2,500 per year. Did you know that?
So you could drive from Texas to California and you're done for the year.
You're done, yeah. Now, why is that? Why are they limiting how many miles you can ride it?
I don't know.
Weird. So it's a 6.5 liter V12 and an electric motor on top of that. 7-speed automatic transmission, and it is rated at 1,139 horsepower. It's pretty good.
Yeah. Get a couple of them.
I guess that extra battery electric system adds 141 horsepower. Not that you probably would notice it anyway. Imagine, all right, you got 1,000 horsepower, but they add another 200. Like, are you going to really notice 200 more horsepower?
The electric probably just gives it that quick get up and go from the torque straight away.
But you know that if you went to buy the car, Lee, and they gave you the option, you know what, Lee, if it's $3 million, but if you for $3.5 million, we'll throw the electric motor in, and you're going to get an extra 200 horsepower. You'd be like, do it.
How long? I remember when I was younger and you couldn't afford the big mod. You're like, okay, what can I do? Okay, a K&N air filter will give me 5 to 12 more horsepower.
And you felt it too, Lee. You felt that horsepower, right?
You're like, I can notice the difference. The car's breathing easier. Or you put a set of extractors and shit on, and all these little things you do. You're like, I can notice it for sure.
Yeah. And then the cold air intake was the next thing you did, right?
Oh yes, that was it.
And then
you started the little things first, then you went to the now let's supercharge it and do the other stuff.
Yeah, and then if you had a little bit of extra money, you do the pipe. What is the headers on the car, and then the exhaust so that it sounds louder, of course, and it has the little carbon fiber, insert on it. And those are all the different things you could do. I spent so much money, because I didn't really have money for when I was younger to have cars. And so when I hit, I think about 29, 30, I was finally making some decent money. I'd paid my student loans off, and I just got into the BMWs, Mercedes, and I would do all the dine-in upgrades on the BMWs, and I was convinced it was adding more. Not only did I do that, there was a gas station close to my house that you could buy. Remember Cam 2? Fuel. Do you guys have that? It was like 120 more.
We used to have 100 here, but now there's one at E85 or something. It's more
you could get 110 or something like that octane, and that stuff, when it burned, it smelled like sweet, and it was like the car performed way better on that stuff, but it was expensive.
But then you do all the other things too. What was it after? Well, when I first get a car, if it hasn't been done, first thing I do is generally you change the wheels and the window tint. That makes it look different.
100%. Yeah. Were you into the chrome rims and stuff like that?
Not really. More like that. Like what would you call it? aluminum style where it's not actually chrome. It was more, you know, like brushed aluminum type look, or that dull, or black. I never was really in. The only thing with black is, heaven forbid you hit the curb. Oh, then you got the nice big gouge in your fucking wheel.
Yeah, they told me I was crazy when I got the chrome rims in Long Island because, you know, of all the ice and all the, you know, the salt on the roads. Supposedly only California's really, everyone in California had chrome rims back in the 90s. Don't you remember that?
Oh, remember when fucking spinners come out? Oh,
I never did that. I always thought they looked tacky.
I used to see them on Hummers, even like a H2 Hummer had big chrome spinners spinning. I'm like,
Ronnie Coleman had those spinners. You remember?
Yeah. Remember, you could get them too, like the knockoff fake ones. The hubcaps that would stick on the wheel and they'd just spin when you drove.
Yeah. They were so tacky. But we bought that stuff. I don't know. But I never. The spinners to me always were like very like there was like too much, and I knew that I would screw them up. I knew I would hit the curb, and it would really mess them up.
But
I remember that people would put the spinners on the little small. They would have like Toyotas, and they'd have like 17-inch rims, and they'd have spinners on them. You know.
Yeah. Or the Lexus lowered down, and the spinners on the Lexus.
I wonder if does anyone out there even know what we're talking about? I got to find some something to show people.
Probably not. They like for a couple of years they were a big craze, weren't they?
Oh, everyone had those things. I mean, they would. I gotta find out. There's got to be a video of these things. Hold on.
What's his name had him on his? What's his name had him on his Hummer when he used to come to my apartment complex? Coolio.
Who?
Coolio.
Oh, cool. That's right. Well, yeah, he definitely would have them. I'm sure. I think they started with the rappers. You know, a lot of rappers had these things first.
Well, that's
and that middle piece would spin. The middle piece would spin around.
Yeah. That one's not too bad, the little bit in the middle, but remember it's the whole rim on some of them, the whole face of it would just spin.
And they were really expensive, if I remember correctly.
Oh, yeah. I think that's where it came from. Well, I know a few rap videos had them, and I think that started the craze. But
Hold on, I'm going to pull this one up. This is going to be really funny. Oh, wait, that's not the one. Hold on.
You could get some with species in the middle, Dave, spinning.
Yeah. Look at those.
And that's the funny thing, though. Sometimes even in Venice, California, you'd see them on a car and you'd be like, the wheels are worth fucking 5 times more than the shit car they put them on.
No, that's what I meant. People would put them on Toyotas and stuff like that. It was ridiculous. Totally ridiculous.
Like I'm moving, but I'm going nowhere.
Right.
Have you ever done that too? It's like a funny moving going nowhere. You ever been at a red light or a traffic light and you're sitting there with your foot on the brake, but the car beside you will start rolling back a bit and you're like, am I moving? It's like
panic a little bit. You start thinking like you're losing your mind, like the car's moving. Yeah,
I'm thinking, fuck, my foot's on the brake. Am I going somewhere? Because the car beside you is going back.
That's called relativity, right?
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, too bad Jimmy's not on the show today. 20th of July. Today's the anniversary of them landing on the moon.
That's right. Or not landing on the moon, whatever he would
Today's the day Stanley Kubrick did that good movie.
You know what I don't understand about the whole moon landing thing? If the whole thing was faked, which it quite possibly could be, why did they go on multiple missions there? Did they was it like a sequel they were making and stuff like that? Like they should have just been like, you know what, we got away with it once. Let's just tell people we can't do it anymore.
Or maybe it's like, let's just do it a few more times so they think we actually can. Yeah.
You know they faked it. I'll tell you why. And I'm not into conspiracy. You know they faked it. I'll tell you why. Because their new standard answer, if you ask them, well, how come we haven't gone back to the moon? They're like, well, we forgot how to do it. What do you mean you forgot how to do it? Well, all the plans and all the blueprints we had for all the stuff we built, they disappeared along with all the video footage of us on the moon too. So we can't do it. We forgot how to do it. It's like they're acting like 20,000 years passed, and they're like, "Oh, ancient technology. We don't know how to do it anymore."
Well, I thought the same thing when they were talking about this new trip going back, the unmanned. Then they're going to take people. Yeah. They said it's going to take this long because we need to test the space suits to make sure they're right for the radiation. And I thought the same thing. I'm thinking, Didn't you already have this information because you sent people up before? Why we?
No, Lee, they lost it. We lost this. We lost all the files. They're gone. We don't know.
How the
Even though there were
fuck
no
did they-
computers, that it was actually in a box. We lost them. We don't know where they are.
What a load of bullshit. It's like, that's just bullshit.
And it's bullshit because you know that every single space capsule, moon rover had patents on them. So there's a patent. Everything's in the patent office filed away, you know, so that no one can steal the plans. So they're full of shit. You know, they don't know how to do it.
Maybe they should either look in Biden's garage or Trump's place. They maybe got the papers there.
And the funny thing is that if you interview some of these astronauts who are now very old, most of them are dead, but the ones that are alive, they get all aggravated because I don't know if they really. I think they're so senile, some of these guys, that they're not really sure. They don't remember the lie they're supposed to tell anymore.
Buzz would always get mad, wouldn't he? Buzz Aldrin.
Oh yeah, he did. Buzz Aldrin did not like the whole. Did we really go to the moon? Who cares? The truth is, what does it even matter? Who gives a crap if we go to the moon or not?
I think really it was just let's beat Russia and everybody else type thing, wasn't it?
Well, you know, but think about it. Russia went to the moon too. Did they make it up, or did they really go?
I never saw a video of it.
I mean, we were sworn enemies of theirs at the time. This was during the Cold War, so either we're both in cahoots, both countries, with the fake moon landing, or one of us really went, you know, or we're both liars. I don't know. You know, it seems kind of weird that, like, you know, we both made up the same story, you know.
I know, it's hard to tell what goes on these days.
Yeah.
It's just crazier and crazier. And the more I see Biden on TV, I saw another indictment for Trump. I'm like, oh, not another one.
The more they indict him, the more I want to see him elected. And I think a lot of people out there are like that, don't you think?
Yeah. It's just like, do they just like the people that are indicting him, do they go like, oh, it's never going to stick, but it's just going to cause lots of headaches and problems. Let's just keep doing this to him. It's like, fucking hell.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. Always, where you mentioned Oppenheimer before, the movie.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, we have Putin. Oh, he bombed Ukraine, war crimes and that. I want to know, even though it stopped the war, why was America never done for a war crime, dropping a bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki on a major city with innocent people? Yeah. It's like, how many hundreds of thousands were killed when that bomb dropped? But, well, that's okay. It stopped the war. Okay, it's good to stop a war, but you don't drop a bomb on a major city.
I hate to say it because, you know, I live in this country and I love this country, but we're the bullies really of the world. I mean, let's face it, the British over there in the UK were the bullies before us, but we took over official bully status. We bully everyone, you know, and we tell them we're not giving them any money unless they listen to what we tell them to do. And now they don't give a shit. You know why? Because the bully now doesn't have all the financial pull that China has. So that China can go in there now and say, hey, we got some money for you guys. We got way more money than those guys in America have. You know, let us help you. We'll build you some roads. The U.S., they want to blow up your roads, you know? And
the thing is, if you don't let us build your roads, we're going to stop making stuff that we send to you, because China pretty much makes everything.
Yeah, because you guys this whole world is so dependent on our country to make everything for you guys because you're too fucking lazy to make it yourself, that now we can say, hey, you know what? We're not going to send those chips over. So I guess you're going to have no computers in the U.S. unless...
No more mobile phones. It's funny because years ago, people say China's going to take over. You're like, oh, you're being racist. They're not. That is. As soon as COVID hit, we ran out of so much stuff that was coming from China. They realized how dependent on China we were.
Well, you remember we couldn't get. I remember when we bought leased my wife's Ford Expedition there. We couldn't get they couldn't get the chips for the I think the computer system in the car, because they were the certain chemical. The certain mineral that they use comes from the Ukraine, and they had the Ukrainian war, and they couldn't get all the. They couldn't get the mining equipment out of there.
There's a mineral in Ukraine that America needs. Wonder what's going on with Ukraine right now.
I wonder why we don't want to give up Ukraine. Exactly.
Those Africans and those other countries thinking, fuck, if only we had something America needed, they'd come help us.
Well, you know, if things were just so easy, I think that's why sometimes I like to just kind of retreat into the world of bodybuilding, because bodybuilding is so simple. Everything is so, we might not agree with everything that gets done, but at the end of the day, no one's getting harmed. Everyone's kind of enjoying themselves. They got the Masters Nationals going on now. It's like, it's literally Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So it's a 4-day show because they got so many people in the show, Lee.
My God.
That I already have one of my clients already competed today, which is, we're recording this on Wednesday. And he got a pro card already, or he's going to get a pro card later. And it's crazy. We're living in different times. And, people complaining. I don't know if you watched our after hours show the other day, but Greg was complaining that there's too many pro cards and it takes away.
I said the same thing.
Yeah, I know you did. But I think it's a good thing because a lot of people want to compete. But what I think they should do, and I wanted to get your opinion because we discussed this on the show yesterday, was have another tier of pro. So you can get your IFBB pro card. You're technically a pro. But if you want to be like a higher level pro, where your status is higher, I don't know what you want to call it. You can give it another name or whatever. Legendary pro, I don't know.
Elite.
You'd have to like win a pro show or something like that. And then you get like a higher status. Like it's like having like a American Express black card. It's like the black card is the premier one. Yeah, the platinum card is good and the gold card's good, but everyone wants the black card, right?
They give out too many. Then it's like I've said with some of these pro shows, when let's say there's 15 in the lineup, I'm being generous, some only have 6 or 7. That last one didn't have many. And it's like after the top 1 or 2 big names, if they're there, some of the people, when you're looking at these people in the front doing the call-outs, you look at the people standing behind at the curtain, they look like fucking bad amateurs. You're looking at them like, holy fuck, how did he get his pro card? It's like,
Lee,
just
think
stay
about
an
this.
amateur.
Think about this from a monetary standpoint. If they gave you a pro card, okay, the same whatever the rules are now, you get your pro card, right? But now, if you want to get this higher level pro card, whatever we call it, legendary pro card, you have to win a pro show, okay? But you can't compete in any of the top tier pro shows like the Arnold or the Olympia or the maybe New York Pro. You have a couple shows that you have higher tiered shows. Can't compete in those until you actually get the legendary pro card. And if you want, you could even charge people to compete still when they only have a regular pro card. You know what I mean? It would be a big money maker because now people want to get to the next level. Because think about it, when you get a pro card, what's the big honor? All right, I want to qualify for the Olympia. But the truth is, most people won't qualify for the Olympia. It's too hard. But even if they do, doing a crappy show, they're never going to really place at the Olympia. But if you can say, hey, I'm a legendary IFBB pro, now you're in a more elite group of people, and the pro card means a lot more at that level.
Imagine those other second-tier pros, as you call them.
Yeah.
They'd get upset if a legendary pro come and done like a little show. He shouldn't be here. He's a legendary pro.
Doesn't matter. It's like in checkers. You play checkers, Lee?
No, it's like I said, Dave. You're a shit pro. Stay amateur,
No,
and if they stay amateur, they can do crossovers. Listen. One amateur can do 4 or 5 divisions, so they're going to make more money because you got to pay for every division.
I'm telling you, this is going to work. Do you play checkers?
No, I hate checkers. Hate chess. Hate checkers. Hate all of it.
You don't even know how to play checkers. In checkers,
snakes and ladders.
All right, hold on. In checkers, if you get your checker piece to the other side of the board, you double stack it, and the double stack checkers can move backwards and forwards. They can't. The other checkers, the single level checkers, can only move in forward direction. So, as a legendary IFBB pro, you'd be able to do whatever shows you want, and people couldn't say anything because you're legendary. There you go.
I just said stop giving out that money. Stop giving out that many pro cards. It's ridiculous.
And then they could charge more, Lee, for shows that would be considered legendary IFBB pro shows because they could charge a higher sanction fee. They would be more, I guess, desirable.
Well, someone told me, like the Masters Olympia coming up with people doing it. There's a guy, I think from Australia, Logan, someone. Yeah. He got his pro card because he got like 3rd in the amateur Olympia or something, so he took his pro card. So to me, it's like, if they do the Masters Olympia, I think you should have at least done some pro shows ahead of time or been an established pro just to get a pro card and go into a show called the Masters Olympia. I think you should have done a few more shows before him.
I would say that as well. Now, I got to tell my wife here. She wants me to order sushi because the kids like sushi. Thank God my kids love sushi, Lee, because you know what? It enables me to eat sushi more frequently because my wife really doesn't like it. She's not into fish. And so my daughter, Aria, and my son, Logan, love salmon avocado rolls. So they'll be like, Mommy, we want sushi. And I'm like, they want sushi. I guess we gotta order it. We gotta order it. You know, otherwise I would never get it. You know, there would never be an option because I wouldn't want to be the only. You know, if I'm the only one who likes it, then it's selfish of me to ask for sushi. But if the kids want it too, we gotta order it. Yeah.
Order McDonald's. I'm sure they'll like that.
They get way too much McDonald's, believe it. So this stupid restaurant by my house, this Japanese restaurant, I don't know why they open at 5 o'clock. And until they open up their doors, you can't order online. Well, usually I order online and I go pick it up, you know.
Don't they open for lunch? No.
Only these Asian restaurants, they have weird hours. They'll have like a lunch and then they'll close for a couple hours and getting ready. I guess they get ready for dinner or whatever. But if I owned a restaurant and I'm paying people to be there anyway, I'm not closing the doors until the night, you know, is over. I want to sell as much food as possible.
And especially now too, because people work all different hours, you know. So what used to be a normal lunchtime, I know some people that don't take their lunch to 2 o'clock, and some places close at 2. So, is it there? Like a lot of those sushi places here are Asian places. I'm not singling them out, but pretty much some of the fish and chip shops here that are Asian, the sushi places, you go there and it's like cash only.
Oh, really? They're doing cash only now?
A lot of them. I'm thinking, come the end of the year when it's tax time, how much are we declaring?
Yeah. You know, it's interesting because, you know, they're moving away from cash. We're like in a cashless society now almost, you know, essentially.
Yeah.
And, you know, really a lot of places don't want to even take cash from you.
Oh, well, it's hard because you go over into some places now, I buy something and they automatically, as soon as you get it, go to the little ATM machine, like their transaction for the card. When I hand them cash, they're like, oh, cash. And they have to delete that and go over to the cash register.
The only place I've ever paid cash in recent memory in the last couple of years is when we walk out of Lowe's, you know, where they sell it's like Home Depot.
Yeah.
When we leave that, there's a hot dog stand there.
Oh, yeah.
And my kids like this hot dog stand there. And they actually do take credit cards, but I always pay her cash because I know that, you know, the woman owns the stand herself, and I give her a tip. We usually a big tip because my kids drive her crazy, and you know, with the hot dogs and what they want on it, and the sodas, and so. But that's aside from that, I don't pay anything cash. No one wants cash; they all want credit cards. You know,
that's the same here. We have our hardware store mainly on the weekends has some group there raising money. They always have like a big sausage sizzle where it's like, you know, sausages, onions, and all that put on a bread roll.
Yeah.
They're normally only like $2.50 or something, but still I can't beat Costco when I go there. You get the foot-long hot dog and drink refills for $1.99.
I'm happy you said that because, you know, we have something called like Sam's Club. It's part of Walmart. Yeah, and Sam's Club, they have like, you get a huge slice of pizza with like this huge Diet Coke. It's like $1.50. My kids think we're the greatest parents of all time. It's ingenious on their part because they know that if you can keep the kids in the store longer, you're going to spend more money.
And it's like Costco, they probably do it too.
Yeah.
You walk around the store and it's like a buffet. They're giving out that many samples. You leave and you're full. I'll have some of that. I'll have some of that. But it's funny when you talk about that. When I do go to Costco, I'm not fat shaming, but like you said, a piece of pizza is like that big or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
I always see the fattest people and they're sitting down with the whole thing because it's only like $10 for this pizza that's about this fucking round. I'm like, Jesus Christ, I couldn't even eat that.
Well, you know, it's funny. Since you mentioned that, I wanted to bring up this topic and I wanted to get your input on it. You know, the big thing in Hollywood now is Ozempic, which is basically a brand name for semaglutide, which is a GLP-1 agonist drug. And what GLP-1 stands for glucagon like peptide. One, it basically, when you take it, it makes you feel full. Okay, it's a gut. It's one of these peptides that's produced in your gut when you eat food, and it sends a signal to your brain. I'm not slow down the digestive tract and kill hunger. So all these, all these Hollywood celebrities are taking it, and they're losing tons of weight on it. But now what they're trying to report is they're reporting that it you lose muscle on it. Like people are wasting away on this stuff. But I know bodybuilders taking it, and they're not wasting away. The problem is in Hollywood, they take it because they just don't eat. And they just starve. They starve the weight off, and they don't feel hungry, and that's how they lose the weight. If bodybuilders use it, they still eat their meals. They're just not snacking in between, which is why it's working for bodybuilders. So, the information that's coming out is that, it's very, very unhealthy, this drug, because people become cachectic and they look like skeletons and they're losing too much weight. But the truth is, they're just not eating. I mean, if you stop eating, of course you're going to look like a refugee from a concentration camp.
Well, maybe in say like 5 years' time there'll be something else. Ozempic caused cancer and this and that.
No, and that's exactly what's going to happen. They're going to exactly. Well, they already have a warning. If you have a history of thyroid cancer in your family or pancreatic tumors, you shouldn't take it. So they obviously know that.
Came out years and years ago and killed people. Was it fen or something? Remember?
Oh yeah,
or some
weight
loss drug and killed a few people.
Caused heart attacks. And the funny thing is when they made the drug, they knew that it had that as a side effect. They just didn't bother telling anyone.
Well, that's the ultimate weight loss. You're dead.
I always tell people there's no shortcuts whatsoever. I used to know a lot of some of these women competitors would take crystal meth. That was big in California. And they would just snort.
Is that like speed? I know a lot of bodybuilders that would take speed.
It's like it's speed.
They help lose weight.
And they would snort it with little amounts.
That drug, a lot of people used it. You might have had it there. It's like a mild speed for weight loss. Duramine.
No, we don't have it here. Not that I know.
If you look up Duramine. It's a drug everyone used here. You could go to the doctors and get it. It was a mild type of speed.
How do you spell it?
I think it's Duramine. Duramine. Google will correct the spelling if it's wrong.
Yeah, it's a weight loss drug,
Yeah, but I think it's like a mild speed type thing. Everyone was on that.
Oh, I think it's phentermine. I think that's another name for phentermine. Yeah. That's funny. Yeah, that's the same drug you just said that was causing all the problems. Yeah.
80s and early 90s, people going to the doctors to get that.
The active ingredient of Duramine was phentermine. That's funny. Anything that's too good to be true is usually too good to be true.
I know, but like you said, anything that's out there, look, people go to fat burners, work, and it's like, they all assist, but you got to be eating clean and training and doing the cardio. Because remember, that big craze when who was bringing out all them carb blockers, remember? It was like, I can eat what I want and take these carb blockers and it just goes through me. It doesn't absorb the fat. Remember all that shit came out and people had diarrhea.
Well, the fat blockers were even funnier. And a matter of fact, they even made an over-the-counter one called Orlistat. And you would eat something with fat in it, you take the pill, and basically you wouldn't absorb it. But the problem is that the fat would leak out of your butt.
Oh, yeah, shit it out. Yeah.
Well, no, people would actually walk around like women were like crap in their pants, like oil, but it wasn't even crap. It was like just oil in their underwear. Like
that's like orange roughy. Remember, eat too much orange roughy, you could just sit there and the oil would come out.
Can you imagine nowadays people doing that? Because you see those really tight spandex that women wear now. It's like cinched up around the butthole so that it like really hugs them really tight.
Well, this day and age of all the genders and this swapping and trends.
Can you imagine those Brazilian pants?
If they eat orange roughy, they'll be healthy and they'll be pre-lubed for their lover. So
no, but can you imagine those Brazilian pants now? They wear them and a girl like cuts a fart or something like that, and all that oil just fucking leaks out of her butthole, and then she's in the gym with this big oily spot around her butt, you can see everything with the way those pants. I got to put the picture of the pants up. It would be horrifying.
I just take that back what I said about the gay men using it for pre-lube, because I think it would actually turn them off smelling like fish, being a pussy smell. So I don't think they would like it. I remember orange roughy would come out the pores in your skin when you were sweating, and your clothes would smell like fish.
Orange roughy was one of the only fish I did not like for some reason. I never ate it, but I know people who ate it, and they would poop.
And then they would panic because if you took a big crap, you'd look at your shit just checking it for blood and that. There'd be all this like orange stuff and all this weird stuff in your shit. You're like, fuck, are my intestines coming out?
And the funny thing was that the fish is not even a fatty fish, so I don't even know what's coming out of you, to be honest with you.
It's probably some fucking mercury, lead poisoning here.
It can't, all I know is it can't be good for you, right? But people will do the stupidest thing. Look, the stupidest thing of all, and you could agree or disagree with me, is the stomach stapling surgery. Because I had the girl used to cut my hair, had it done, and you know, she was overweight. She battled with weight, you know, her whole life. And I kept saying to her, I said, Denise, I said, let me put you on a diet. I'm going to give you this. You're going to eat small meals throughout the day. You're not going to be hungry. Nah, I'm doing this. I'm doing the surgery. So she does the surgery. She gets out of the surgery. She's cutting my hair. I'm like, oh, you look like you lost some weight. I said, so I mean, what's happened since the surgery? She's like, well, you know, after you have the surgery, your stomach is so small. All you can eat is like, you know, I eat a little chicken and broccoli, and I eat a little. And she's basically listing off the bodybuilding diet I was going to give her. I said, so you had to go get your stomach stapled to do the bodybuilding diet that I was going to tell you about anyway. Anyway,
I know some people that have had that done. I know some people have had that done. Yeah, I know a few people that had it done and gained their weight back because they
stretch the stomach out again.
They force the food in. It's almost like you need to put one of those things on them. Like when I went to Japan, they have those like crane birds that go down and get the fish, but they put the ring around their neck so they can't swallow the fish. You need to put people with like a tight collar around so they can't really swallow. They got to have fluid.
You remember when you ever see anyone they get their jaw broken and they got to wire the jaw shut?
Yeah, and they're on fluid.
That's the only way to lose weight. Matter of fact, I knew someone. I'm trying to think of the story. I knew someone who had their jaw wired shut so they could lose weight. It was I think they would do it. I don't know if they're still doing it, but they were doing it for a while. I said, you know what? That would be worse than going into an MRI machine and living in the MRI machine. You know how tight the MRI machine is, like right against your face? That everyone goes crazy. I usually sleep in those things. It doesn't bother me, but a lot of people get freaked out because it's claustrophobic. Can you imagine not being able to open your mouth up? That's got to be the worst of all time.
Especially imagine if you had a blocked nose. You'd be trying to breathe through your teeth.
Remember Sean Roden had his jaw broken?
Yeah.
Got his jaw, and he had to suck protein drinks through a straw for like 6 weeks. I don't know how he did it.
MRIs, I normally go to sleep too, but when I'm going in, I just shut my eyes. I remember years and years ago, I watched the whole thing once, and then I was laying there, and you look down at your feet, you see them down there, then I start going through all these horror movies where people have been stuck in MRIs or sunbeds, and they get killed in a sunbed. I'm like, don't think about it. I hate to when they go, it's going to take 20 minutes, and, you know, start, you hear Then it stops and you just sort of relax, and all of a sudden, you're like, oh, fuck.
It starts up again. Breathe, take a deep breath, hold.
And sometimes you've done that. Have you ever done that when that says breathe and you breathe and says take a breath, you don't take a big enough one, hold, and you're like,
You're so ready to pass out.
And I was like, tell me to breathe, quick.
I'll tell you that if you're claustrophobic, the thing that you don't want to do is you don't want to go into a hyperbaric chamber. And I'll tell you, I went into a hyperbaric chamber because right before I moved to Florida, I cut my toe off. I almost cut my entire toe off. I dropped a big, heavy tank on my toe, and my second to last toe was hanging by like a thread, essentially. They sewed it back on, and they said, you really should do these hyperbaric chambers because your feet, you know, don't really have good circulation, and you want to make sure the toe heals. I'm like, fine, I'll do anything. So I go into the hyperbaric. It looks like a room with tanning beds set up, except they're bigger and they're clear, so you can see through them. So you get into the bed, which is pretty comfortable. They have air conditioning in there. It's nice and relaxing. And the top comes down over you. And what they tell you now is once you're in there, they're like, listen, once it gets pressurized, you know, you're going to be under high pressure oxygen. Which is going to hyperoxygenate your body. You can't come out. Meaning if you freak out, they can't just open up the chamber because you're under. It's like you're under the ocean. They got to repressurize the tube you're in. So if you lose your mind in there, you ain't coming out, and they're not opening that thing up. You can bang all you want in there. So luckily for me, I scheduled all my hyperbarics like early in the morning, like 7 o'clock in the morning. So by the time I got there, I was exhausted still because I got up, I probably only had 5 hours of sleep, and I would just go in there and I would sleep for an hour or whatever it was. I don't even remember how long it was. It was like 45-minute sessions. And they said to me, I've never seen anyone sleep every single time they came here. I said, I'm tired. They said.
I did it once or twice. My friend had one at his gym, but his wasn't a hard one. It was like almost, it almost looked like the submersible that went down to the Titanic and it had a zip on it. You'd close it with a zip. It was all white, and along the side, it only had like 5 round porthole things like that big you could see out of. So once you was in there, it looked like that submersible with just 4 round holes on the side that you could see out of. I remember laying there. Oh, this is full of oxygen. I've seen one of those movies. If there's a spark, I'm going up.
Oh yeah, but you know what? You feel really good when you get out of that thing because you're so hyper oxygenated that you can feel a difference. I don't. I've talked to people and they said the same thing. It's like it really is kind of cool.
I remember when you could buy them and they used to help their workouts. Remember, you could get that little tank of oxygen with a little face mask on it, so in between sets you could breathe oxygen.
Flex Wheeler and those Cormier and those guys, weren't they doing that for a while in the gym?
It could have been, yeah. It could have been where I first seen it, yeah. But it was like a pure oxygen tank you could get, and just had that little face mask bit on, so you could just breathe the oxygen in.
I'm pretty sure that they were doing that in the gym for a while because I remember seeing it in like a magazine, like reading an article, and they were talking about it or something like that. Or did I think they had it backstage? That's what it was. Yeah. Didn't some of the pro shows you would know?
I know. I saw people on oxygen backstage, but I think that was the proper oxygen tank from the medical people. Once Ronnie and Flex and then done some of their routines, you'd seen.
Yeah, but I think they started using it because it was available backstage. Because I think Wayne D'Amelia did it after, remember people would, after Benaziza died, they started trying to be more conscious of what was going on in terms of health. And I think that they started having like a medic backstage, and they had the oxygen tank. And I think these guys were just saying, "Screw it, we're going to use the oxygen."
I wonder how it would work because you have like the CPAP machines that just give you air in that. But imagine every night you go to bed, you just get like a bottle of oxygen, put that little thing in your nose like they do at the hospital, and you go to sleep with that. Would that help?
I don't know. It's funny because you know how people do hypoxia training where they actually will wear a mask that inhibits your body from breathing oxygen with the.
Do you have places here called Air Locker?
No, what is that?
Look up Air Locker. It's like a couple of gyms here, and they reckon when you go in there, same sort of thing. Somehow they decrease it, so you're training. It's almost like you're training at a higher altitude or something.
Oh yeah. So I see what it is. So it puts more pressure on you. Yeah. What they do it limits your oxygen that you're breathing. But it's funny because I was talking to Victor Conti about that because Victor was into that whole idea between training in hypoxic situations versus more oxygen. And he said to me, and this made sense, when you train, you want to train with more oxygen because you want to be able to perform at a higher level. You don't want to restrict oxygen use. When you're sleeping at night, that's when these guys sleep in, like you said, the tents where there's less oxygen in there, more pressure, like you would be simulating elevation, so that overnight their bodies will start producing more red blood cells to increase their oxygen carrying capacity because the body doesn't know that it's being tricked into thinking it's in a low oxygen environment. So, but while you're training, you want to use oxygen because then you can train harder, which makes complete sense.
And could you imagine like training and it's harder, like doing a heavy squat session, and then you're like trying to get the air in and you can't get a fucking
right.
You want to get lightheaded. You'd be like,
There's so many cockamamie different things that people employ, to try to these techniques. Back in the old days, What'd they do? They just went out and they ran on the road and they they did push-ups and pull-ups and guys were strong and people got knocked out.
I laugh because you see the physiques back in the day. They were so thickly muscled, Bert Foxes and all these guys who used basic drugs, basic dieting, and the muscle quality back then. Even someone like that Serge Nubret, who wasn't like a freak, but the quality of muscle, you don't see that today. And all these guys did was the basic shit. Now you got people doing something like, look at some of the biggest arms back in the day. But now you got people doing that where they tie the shit around it to restrict the flow while they're training or on their legs. And then I see the people now.
Training, hypoxic, asphyxiation training, asphyxiation training.
Some should tie it around their neck while they're fucking training.
You should, I was saying you should do a video where you tie some asphyxiation around your penis and attach it to the coffee table, and you can do bicep curls. Everyone will be doing it. They'll be like, "Look at those arms he's got at 51 years old. Holy shit!
Squats,
I got to do the same thing Lee does."
When you do squats, tie it off so you stretch it when you stand up.
You and Jimmy should come up with a unique name, and because Jimmy likes to do anything related to the penis. He thinks it's going to make a lot of money. And you can call it like the Lee Priest
you laugh,
penis
Dave, but I'll probably make millions of dollars. You're laughing, but I'll probably make millions.
You will. And then Jimmy will be all upset that you didn't include him. But the Lee Priest penis asphyxiation training method will give you 25-inch arms guaranteed.
It's funny, Juji, Juji Mufu, he had these handle grips sell out. If you've seen them, it's actually like how Vince Taylor has the ball thing for his arms and doing that.
Yep.
Juji has one, but it's the eggplant.
Who does?
Juji, he put up an eggplant for a dick on.
Oh.
See if you can find it on his page. He sells these things and they're an eggplant. So it looks like.
How do you spell his name?
Juji, Juju. I think it's under Juji on Instagram and that.
Oh, I'm looking. I was just going to Google it.
Yeah.
And what does he say it does?
Well, it's just like a handle grip, but it's in the shape of an eggplant.
Hold on.
I think he told me they sell out a bit. Because he showed me, took a picture of them at some gyms. They got these eggplant hanging from the cable.
All I'm getting is grilled Japanese eggplant. It's not coming up.
Eggplant handle, eggplant grip.
Oh, eggplant handle. Let me see if I can put that.
If you look at his Instagram, you'll find it. Oh, because he's probably got a store on his Instagram.
How does that work? Do you sell anything on your Instagram?
You only put up an ad and you say go to the link, and you probably have a link in your bio to go to an actual store page or whatever.
Hold on, this can't be it. I'm going to put this up here. You tell me if this is it. There's no way this is not it, is it?
No.
Is that it?
What the fuck's that?
It's an eggplant handle.
No. That looks
oh shit.
That looks like a smashed eggplant.
Yeah.
Eggplant training grip. Put something like that in.
There's a lot of Jujis on Instagram.
Juji Mufu.
Is that what his name is? Why did Guy Cisternino shave his beard, I noticed?
I know.
I got to ask him.
I'm thinking normally when people do that, because he's always proud of it, generally when people shave it more like that, they've gone to trim it themselves and they fucked it up and went too short one side, then they go the other side, and it's like, oh, fuck it, I fucked it up.
Maybe, but Guy's a neurotic. There's no way he would ever mess it up. he's too good at what he does. He's too precise.
Well, with Guy's luck, he probably led him to a fire and burnt it or something.
I don't know. I love Guy. Guy used to come to my house, like when I used to do his diet and stuff like that, and he would actually clean my house when he would come over. He would like clean the coffee table. He would get like toothbrushes out and start like getting between the little. I had like this coffee table that was like tiles, and like like pieces of food would fall in there. I don't know how it got in there, whatever, from eating on there. And he would clean them out. And I loved having him come over. He could not clean when he came to my house. It was great.
I'll bring it up on the show with him today.
Yeah. I know you're going to be on his show a little later with Nick Walker there. Speaking of Nick Walker looks inhumanly big. Have you noticed that lately?
Yeah, and he's actually listened to a lot of his podcasts. He's actually said that he's, using a bit less weight, but really using the mind-muscle connection and really using the muscle like we talk about. Some people you can throw weight around, but you're not using the muscle. He's actually likened the weight, he said, which is still heavy, like 100-pound dumbbells for chest, but really getting everything out of those 100 pounds, squeezing and shit,
Yeah. You think, why is he all of a sudden doing that?
I don't know. Just a change.
I mean, obviously the guy doesn't need any more muscle on his body. That's for sure. He's
the amount of muscle Nick has, like, his conditioning's good, but even as he gets that more mature look coming on, he's gonna just look bigger. When you get that mature look and things tighten up or appear to tighten up even more, you just be like, you could be the same weight. People go, oh fuck, he looks 10 pounds bigger.
Right. The problem I see him having, and he's not going to have it for a while because he's young. As he gets into his 30s, the skin doesn't get quite as taut. You lose some of the elasticity in your abdominal muscles, and they start hanging out a little more. And that just comes with age. Everyone's like, oh, it's GH. Yeah, well, maybe it's GH and maybe it's eating too much food, but it happens as we get older. The connective tissue that holds your organs in just gets stretched out over time as we get older. And that's why you ever see these old men who don't work out at all, they have this big poochy gut hanging out. It's not anything they did. That's just they have no muscle whatsoever on their stomach, and that connective tissue is stretched out. So it's just hanging out, So at least us older guys who work out, we can kind of suck it in, because we have muscle there. When you're young in your 20s, don't you remember you would take your shirt off, Lee? You don't have to suck anything in. It was always sucked in,
But even now, sometimes if you've got a T-shirt on, you go to take a photo. I even go.
You have to suck it in because we're old, But when you're younger, you don't even have to suck in anything because it's always sucked in. I remember I used to go running when I was a runner. I would take my I never wore a shirt. I would just wear shorts, especially in the summer. And I would go running, and my waist was teeny tiny, sucked in, and because you're young, and when you're young, everything looks good. It's like girls' boobs when they're young. You see a 20-year-old girl's boobs, it looks like they have fake boobs. But by the time they get to 30, they're starting to sag a little bit, gravity. We're back. I'm back.
Blackout. See that?
So listen, so I have this, expensive backup generator on my house and on my office building here on my property. The problem is when the internet goes out, and when the electricity goes out for a second, before the generator kicks on, there's a momentary lapse, and so the router gets reset, and so we lost the connection. Anyway, we're back. And what was I talking about? Oh, women whose boobs drop as they get older. So gravity destroys everyone, and age destroys everyone. So guys that tend to be big, like Nick, never fare as well, I think, into their older age. Whereas the guys that are more of the symmetrical guys that are not mass monsters, they seem to last longer in bodybuilding. You notice that?
Yeah. Yep, they do. And like you said, look better later on. But I often wonder, there's a thing, actually I just caught my eye on the TV here, was Logan 2. First look at Logan 2. I'm thinking, didn't he die in Logan, Wolverine? Now there's Logan 2.
Oh, they got another one coming out? I thought he's going to be in the new Marvel.
Oh, Deadpool, Deadpool 3, yeah. I saw the pictures of it. He's got the yellow suit on from the comic books.
Thank God they got Hugh Jackman to come back as Wolverine, because I really thought they were going to replace him with someone else. Yeah. And even though he's older, I said no one else could play Wolverine at this point. And I'm shocked that they got him back. You think there was fan demand, or why do you think they decided to bring him back?
Fan demand. I think is too. I think he enjoys that character. I think if you enjoy playing the character too, and you fit it so well, he's been doing it. Shit, how long's he been playing Wolverine for? Since the first
20 years, probably. Right?
X-Men, yeah. So so it says first look at Logan 2. That'd be interesting because he was dead. But then they're doing the Deadpool one, and in it, because in the Wolverine, the yellow suit, the arms are cut off sleeveless, but he's got the long sleeve. So I'm thinking, very clever. He can dye it down and look good, but you don't have to be super ripped because you got the suit to cover everywhere.
Now the question is, when he's going to be in Deadpool and he's going to be in these new Marvel movies, is it going to be him as he's younger, or is it going to be the latest version of Logan, of Wolverine?
Well, the picture of him in Wolverine in the Deadpool ones, there's pictures up everywhere.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
It's hard. Yeah, he looks sort of mid. He's like, he hasn't got any grey hair. He's got all dark hair and the beard and that. So It might be like in the timeline before Logan, but here in this Logan first look, he's got a picture of him. He looks sort of older again. So, but I guess when he died, he comes back. Did he? He regenerated and came back. Even at the end of Logan, though, when they buried him and they all walked off and it showed the grave, I was expecting to see the claws punch out of the ground.
Like a Freddy Krueger type of thing, or Jason. Yeah. I love this guy. I love the Wolverine character. And, Hugh Jackman really used to train pretty hard, to get into really good shape for that part so he could actually take his shirt off, whereas a lot of these guys just get CGI'd or they wear the suits with the muscles in them. That's what I liked about Superman.
Oh, my suit. The cape's not ready yet, but he's going to send me the suit to try it on to see if it needs adjustments and that. So,
are you going to start doing some guest posings once you get the suit?
Yeah, they've all muscles on it. He goes, when you put it on, he goes, wear like a compression tops and that because it's easier to slide on.
So it's going to be like very form fitting then.
Oh yes, it's just like the one Henry Cavill had that type. So it's going to be very smart when you put it on. It'll be like almost look like a muscle wetsuit.
That's what I liked about Henry Cavill for the Superman part, because when he took his shirt off, he actually had real muscle under that because he was actually in good shape.
And it always used to make you wonder when you see the movies now, Batman or these, where even though Ben Affleck got in pretty good shape, but generally Bruce Wayne or these are just skinny, normal people. But then when they're their character, they've suddenly got all this muscle.
Well, Batman was more explainable because Batman had a suit that was like armored suit, so you could rationalize it like that. But I don't know. I get sucked into these movies. I don't even. I can completely suspend disbelief when I watch these movies and enjoy them. I'll tell you though, when I watched that Black Adam movie with The Rock, I didn't really enjoy it that much. It didn't really suck me in. And I don't know if it's because The Rock, I just don't see The Rock as a superhero, but I just thought it was a little hokey, a little corny, that movie.
That's what I thought. I had to say the same thing. It was a little bit corny type thing. It's like when someone's trying too hard to go a certain way, it just seems like they're pushing it. It's like,
Right. Yep. Yeah. It wasn't like it was like he was The Rock playing the part rather than he didn't become the character to me. He still was The Rock, and that's.
I think what's his name played a better part than The Rock in it. What's his name? He played James Bond that time. He played the guy with the gold helmet and what's his name?
Yeah.
Pierce Brosnan.
Yes. Yeah. I like him. He's a great actor. I thought he was a great James Bond too when he was James Bond.
You almost forget he was James Bond, don't you? And Timothy Dalton.
Timothy Dalton was only one time, but Brosnan was supposed to be James Bond, and then I think he had some kind of contractual obligation. He couldn't play the part, but then eventually he did become James Bond. But I think he waited too long. He probably lost 10 years that he could have been James Bond,
Have they made an announcement yet on who the new one's going to be yet?
Aren't they changing it to like a black James Bond or something like that?
Well, I heard Idris Elba was in the running, which I wouldn't mind seeing him. It wouldn't bother me, but then again, he's sort of older. They're going to go for a newer guy, like a younger guy. That
Didn't they? Weren't they looking at Henry Cavill as James Bond too?
I think so. I don't know. Even Tom Hardy's name was in the mix for a while.
Yeah, I don't like. I think that Henry Cavill would be really good as James Bond.
Mm-hmm.
I could definitely.
It's funny because when you actually listen to his interviews, because every show he plays is always American, you forget he's got that British accent.
He's got a British accent. But the thing that annoys me about the movies, and I don't know if anyone even cares what we're talking about, but while this is Iron Rage, so we can bitch and complain about anything we want. I don't like when they have to try to recreate. you know what? James Bond has always been a white, British guy. Now we're going to make him a black British guy. Like, I don't understand that. Just like we were talking about on After Hours the other day, Peter Dinklage, who I really like, the actor. He's the dwarf guy who was in Game of Thrones. He's all upset about the whole Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs that they're coming out with. And Disney had to be so woke about it that they're not using dwarfs. They only have one dwarf.
I saw that on the picture. I think, is that real? I'm like,
it's a movie about dwarfs, Lee. Let's face it. It's Snow White, who is white, a white girl, and 7 dwarfs. They're dwarfs. They could be black dwarfs. I don't care, but they're dwarfs. Okay, that's the movie. You don't have to change the story because the story is about 7 dwarfs and Snow White. And it has nothing to do about racially charged. That's just the movie. And if you're going to remake the movie, you make the movie in the same light that it was originally written in.
Oh, no.
Snow White and 7 dwarfs. I don't understand the problem.
We're probably going to have Snow White, and instead of a prince, it'll be a trans prince that will come and wake her up. And everything. Like, well, Disney, too, they were the ones, this Sound of Freedom movie, right? And there's a lot of people saying this is a QAnon thing and all this sort of thing. And the guy's like, we made it 5 years ago before there's even QAnon was out there. But Disney actually owned it, but then Disney got rid of it. I'm thinking, why would Disney get rid of it? It's about saving children from child trafficking and all this. I think that movie's hitting home too close to a lot of people. It's like crazy.
You know what the problem is about Hollywood, Lee? Let me explain it. And maybe you know this. When I was in high school, I would go see, they had a drama club there. And it was mostly girls, and there was a couple of guys in the drama club. And I didn't know this at the time because I was naive, but all the guys were gay, okay? Because regular guys didn't do drama. That's just the way it is. I don't know, today maybe it's different, but they were all gay. But they were good. They were good actors, and those are the people who went on to go into Hollywood and become actors and actresses. All the weirdos, and that's fine. They're creative. People who are creative are weird, okay? But we're weird in our own sense because we're bodybuilders. But people in acting are weird. Now, so all these weirdos go into Hollywood, and a lot of them became writers and directors and producers. And of course, you're going to get these kooky, crazy fucking concepts in movies because you've got a bunch of weirdos doing this stuff. Yeah. And now with the whole woke, generation, where it's like they want to shock people. And I don't necessarily think there's an agenda. Everyone says, oh, there's an agenda. They're trying to brainwash the kids. No, I just think it's a shock thing. Creative people have to try to think about what the next shocking thing they can do is to shock people. And that's what they do. And so I think a lot of these Disney movies, they have to have girls kissing and guys kissing and transgenders in there because they got to shock people because that's what they do in Hollywood.
Well, I was watching the last, season 5 of Titans, that one about the younger kids when they're superheroes, like Robin and all them.
Yeah.
And the guy that works in the computer room there and the guy who becomes the new Robin, because Robin in the first couple of seasons is now Nightwing or whatever it is with the blue.
Oh, yeah, he becomes Nightwing. Yeah, I haven't watched the season, the thing at all.
Yeah, but the black guy's now Robin, and he's madly in love and passionately kissing the guy who's doing all the computer work for him and stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't know why I have to do it. There's a lot of shows I watch. You know what? That I noticed they've been intercalating gay and cross-gender.
And the thing is, too, I'm not against it, but I don't even want to see men and women kissing in that in movies, especially if it's an action movie. It's like, if you want to have an action movie, rather than show this fucking lovey sex scene after people have been killed, just show them going into the bedroom and close the door. We know what they're going to do. That's all we need. Get back to the fucking action. We don't need some fucking romance thrown in the middle. Charles Barkley's attacking Americans that boycott Bud Light, I was saying. And then I was talking about Jason Aldean's anti-BLM song and Antifa songs being pulled from CMT.
What do you think about that?
It's crazy. It's just a song. What gets me though, he's got an anti-BLM song and anti-Antifa song that gets pulled. Have you heard some of those rap songs that are out there about killing pussy, fucking, killing police, killing this, doing that? I'm thinking, oh, that's okay, isn't it? It's like, I remember when, what's her name, Cardi B won some song of the year for My Big Pussy or something, but yet they were blocking and banning all these other things with certain words in it and stuff. And they're like, this gets pulled, but this song wins Song of the Year. I'm like, but back to your actors and that. Well, you know, redid Little Mermaid and she's black. I'm like, why are we going down this route? Or be a man character? We've got to make a woman character. And like Jada Pinkett just did that Cleopatra thing, and we know Cleopatra was white. She got a black woman as Cleopatra. We got who was that? Queen Antoinette, I think it was.
You know, Lee, I'm not even the Little Mermaid. That stuff doesn't bother me, and I know they're doing it purposely to try to be cross-cultural, but that doesn't bother me. But when you have a story about 7 dwarfs and you can't put dwarfs in there when the story is about dwarfs, that irritates me, because now it's like it's like they want to rewrite history, and they want to take the classic stories that we grew up. And they want to change them because they're not politically correct. That's what makes them so amazing. If you remember, when we were kids, they wanted to ban Huckleberry Finn from the schools because they used the N-word in there. And you know what? That's how people spoke during Mark Twain's time when he wrote the book. You don't change the book. The book is we shouldn't be embarrassed by the past. We should embrace the past and understand, hey, we're not there anymore, but this is what it was like back then, so that people understand it. If you erase the past, what happens is you repeat the past.
Exactly. Remember Quentin Tarantino, when he did Django Unchained, they complained about the N-word. It's like, this is a movie about the slave days. That's the word they used back then. They didn't go, hey.
It's historically accurate, right? It's a historically accurate movie.
He didn't say, hey, bring me that African-American over here.
We live in they want to rewrite history, Lee, so that people forget where we came from, and they could just brainwash everyone.
With shit like that, you got to leave alone, because, like you said, with James Bond, you don't need to make it as a white English spy. Make a new character. It's like all these people they're trying to reinvent, just make new characters. You could have made Ariel have a black mermaid friend and have a whole new spin-off series from that. It's like what? And the thing is too, we always go woman to man character, or a man has to become a woman character. If he's white, we've got to make him black. I don't see them getting Blade or Shaft and using a white guy to play the part, or let's get Liam Neeson to play Malcolm X. He's a great actor. Let's do that. Oh, could you imagine the uproar? But Marie Antoinette, she was a white queen. On the TV series, a black woman's playing her. I'm like, this is history. How can you? It's like too when you see there was a couple of shows from England back in the day, and it was like around those times back in the day where there was wars and shit. There's not enough black people depicted in this. It's like, because there were fucking no black people living there in that time that was on the army with the English. It's just like you could see a movie and go, here's a movie about America. Well, I didn't see enough Japanese representation in that. I say, because there was no fucking Japanese. It's like,
it's like you remember when we were kids? You remember the old Batman series?
Oh yeah, Adam West and that.
You remember when they switched Catwomans, and they went from a white Catwoman to a black Catwoman? Now, that actually, I think they had 3 Catwomans.
Wasn't Eartha Kitt the first? Eartha Kitt was the
first. I like the first one was the hottest, though. But they got away with the black Catwoman because I think it was Eartha Kitt. I think you're right. Because she was hot, but it's just that was like monumentally shocking back then, right? They never did that stuff,
Well, I just hate now when people do shit like this. It's like back then, if someone's good enough, they get the part, they get the job. But now, when you have the dickhead president or people saying, "Oh, we need this many black people for a quota," or when a job position comes available, like the new fucking White House fucking press woman, Jean-Pierre, whatever her fucking name is, I'm the first black lesbian to have this job. It's like, who fucking cares? You're shit at the job too. So we can see a lot of these people who are put in because of their race or whatever, they're shit at it. They don't have the qualifications. You just got the job because of who you are. So it wasn't for your fucking qualification for it, that's for sure.
I'm sure the vice president of the United States, she's not qualified to be vice president of the United States, but she was biracial, the black and American Indian. So that, that worked. And she's a woman. So that worked for them very well.
Well, she was only Indian before, but then she went to African American when she
added that on afterwards.
When she got sworn in, when she got sworn into the Senate that time, her parents were there and they were done up in Indian karma. Her mum had that target on her forehead. And it's just all like, now I'm African American. What was it the other day she was explaining? AI. Did you see that one?
No, I can't watch her.
She makes me AI. AI, she goes, means artificial intelligence. That's why it's got 2 letters, AI. And it's like, people are like, oh, fucking wow. Wow.
She just figured that out, I guess. Yeah, she just figured that out.
Some of the shit, like last week she was going on about, they went through the week of her giving a couple of talks, and the shit she come out with, like, she runs, I thought, Bush was funny sometimes, the shit he'll come out with, and the thing is with her, she actually believes it, whereas Joe just mumbles and waffles on and just makes shit up that's non-coherent. But her trying to explain stuff like, the universe is so big and sparse. Isn't the universe great, kids? How big it is? Lots of planets. I was like,
no, Lee, the difference is that Biden at one point was actually an intelligent man.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I agree with his policies, but he was an intelligent man. She was never intelligent. Now he's demented, so he sounds like a moron, but he's really not a moron. He's just demented. She has no excuse whatsoever. She's just not that smart. That's all.
But have you noticed too, like when Barack was in, then he got out. Bush was in, then he got out. Even if you look at Biden, he has been there, 3 years or so now? Yeah. Look at him when he got sworn into now. That job fucking ages you quick.
These guys probably never get a good night's sleep ever. There's always some kind of. You watch that movie, The Designated Survivor?
Yeah.
That show with the keeper son. It's like there's always some major catastrophe going on that we don't even know about, but that the president is dealing with. So he never gets. There's no way that guy ever gets 8 hours of sleep.
Oh, well, Joe probably does.
He probably does. They probably give him like a pill to knock him out every night. So keep him out of the White House. They don't want him. They don't want him wandering the White House in the middle of the night.
They give him a pill to knock him out. They're like, "Oh shit, we forgot. He's got an early morning speech to make, and that's when he starts." Blah, blah, blah,
well, they got to get him up to do a line of cocaine and wake him up after that.
Oh yeah, I found that. Isn't that funny too about that baggie? How we're not looking anymore. It's like, look, okay, if you don't want to look anymore, but my mind just goes straight away to, you just showed people how easy it would be to get anthrax or something into the White House and never be discovered.
His son is a crack cocaine addict, and they don't search family members when they come into the White House. The son obviously brought it in. Come on, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out. Biden's not scoring cocaine on the corner in Washington D.C. and bringing it home. All right,
but it's the most secured place ever. Cameras weren't working.
Lee, if you were in the White House and your father or your mother was president, they'd probably find some steroids in your drawer, I'm sure, for a rainy day. Anyway, the take-home message is here, guys. If you're going to have a movie about 7 dwarfs, I want to see dwarfs. Lee and I want to see freaking dwarfs. That's the take-home message.
Hollywood got mad. Remember, it's like, if you're going to have a crippled person, get a real crippled person, or don't have a straight guy play a gay guy. I'm like, I've seen plenty of gay actors play straight men, so what's the difference, So it's just crazy. It's like, if you want to have an amputee, someone playing an amputee, get a real amputee. I'm like, it's called acting.
It's called acting. It's called acting, right. But I don't want to see. I want to see dwarfs.
If you want to get a serial killer, Dave, you don't need to act. Just get one.
You don't have to go get a serial killer, right? You can just go get Kevin Spacey, and he'll play one.
I'll just get one of those. Like, what serial killers are locked up still? Just go get one of them out. It's like,
well, they get the new one. That new one that they just arrested, Lee, was about a mile from my house when I lived in Long Island. Yeah, he's like down the block.
Even when you get like a killer like that, Manson was still alive for a long time when they made all those Manson movies. Why didn't they just get him out to play himself?
There you go. Problem solved. Yeah. And on that brilliant note, we're going to wrap today up. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Iron Rage. I'm Dave Palumbo with Lee Priest. Next week, we might have Danny Hester on. We were supposed to have him this week, but hopefully we'll get him next week. And John Romano should be back as well. Stay tuned. We'll see you next time.